Hi BookTube, Tamara here, and let's talk about my top 5 books from 2014. I just realized that pretty much all these books are either dystopian or fantasy based. I guess that's where I was in 2014. Kind of funny that this is my first top 5 Wednesday video and it's like the last day of the year. But I came into BookTube pretty late. I didn't start until December, right after NaNoWriMo, so I guess that's what you get. But pretty excited to start, and let's get into it. Also, a disclaimer. These books did not necessarily come out in 2014. Number 5 is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. The year is 2044 and the main character, Wade, and everyone around him kind of lives their lives through virtual reality. Through this virtual reality, they play all these different games and they earn stuff, basically. And there has been this one sort of kind of Easter egg hunt game that no one has been able to crack the code, and Wade wants to win. Basically, I'm not going to go into any more detail than that because this book, I think, works best if you don't know a whole lot going into it. I loved all the 80s references and the talk of like old school gamer type of stuff. The idea of taking items that were, you know, very nostalgic for me at least, and then putting them in this kind of new framework. Very interesting. Like this book a lot. Number 4 is Why the Last Man, Volume 1, the Unmanned series by Brian K. Vaughan. Sorry. This graphic novel takes place in the future where every man has died except for one. It's interesting because it takes you on a journey where they're trying to figure out what is this disease, how it all happened, trying to keep this one guy safe who is incredibly flawed throughout the entire series. But I do feel as though he evolved. He learned more about himself and women, how to treat women. I had read Goodreads reviews after I read the entire series, and there was a lot of people who found it very problematic. They felt as though the women portrayed in the book seemed as though they were just waiting for men to appear, and they weren't able to get together the infrastructure and to keep things moving. But I think the way I interpret it was that the weakness and the flaw in the infrastructure was that women weren't already incredibly immersed in the entire world to keep the infrastructure going seamlessly. So things did fall apart. There were and there are careers that are more male based, that there's not as many women doing those things. So I thought that was interesting. I didn't find it as problematic as other people did, but you know, to each their own. But I really enjoyed the story. Number 3 on my list is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This book captivated me. I felt like a child reading about this circus that kind of moves and that's totally shrouded in mystery, where people become so enthralled and so in love with the circus that they start wearing bits of red to signify that they are part of the experience. The Cirque des Rêves. It only happens at night. It's a black and white circus where there's magic, actual magic. But behind the scenes, there's this competition between Marco and Celia that they have really no control over. two magicians being pitted against each other. I really liked the way the story was written and how the descriptions and how this world was built. I felt like I could see it. And I have a very thirsty imagination for that to happen. I really enjoyed that. So number 2 on my list is Under the Never Sky by Veronica Rossi. This book, I'm not even going to go into a lot of detail about this book because there's been so many people who've talked about it and raved and given great reviews and in-depth reviews that I feel as though I'm just kind of repeating what everybody else has said. I loved it because of the way the world was built up. I really enjoyed reading about these different parts of humanity and how they survived and how they worked together or worked against each other, and the friendships that were made, the unlikely friendships that were made. So that's really all I'm going to say about it, other than if you haven't read this, you should read it. So good. Number 1 on my list is Shatter Me by Tamara. And did I just butcher her name? Because I feel like I did. This book, it takes place in a future where the environment has broken down. The people are being held under a totalitarian regime called the Reestablishment that tells us that they are trying to reestablish the humanity to its fullest. We start the story with Julie, and she is in what appears to be some type of insane asylum. And as you read, Julie has some unusual gifts, and her story is basically one of trying to find freedom. I am not going to go into any more detail. Please read this if you haven't. There are so many reasons to really enjoy this book, and I'm sure that there's plenty of people who haven't, because that's the way of the world, but I urge you to give it a try. And I can't wait to read the rest of the series. I just read this book a couple weeks ago, and I read my books primarily from the library, especially ebooks, because ebooks just automatically go back to the library, and I am absent-minded. And my last time that I got a lot of books, I ended up forgetting about them and owing the library close to $60, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when it's $60 of fines, and the fines are like, you know what, 10 cents a day or 20 cents a day or something, that's a problem. So ebooks for me. That's it. Are any of these books in your top 5 for the year? Let me know in the comments. What are some books that you think that I should read? Please tell me. I am all about having that wish list and finding new books and new to me books and reading things, because it's what I love to do. This is New Year's Eve, and I want to wish you a happy new year and a safe one. Please like this if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be back tomorrow, and I'm going to tell you about my writerly resolutions for 2015. Would you like me to do one about books? If you would, let me know, because I wasn't sure if I should or not, blah 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 blah. Anyway, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.